Emeralds, David and Jules Dornan, both had careers before they decided they wanted something more than what traditional jobs could offer. David, the son of Network 21 founders Jim and Nancy Dornan, met Jules while at a Network 21 event, and they haven't looked back since. As a young couple, they enjoy being able to spend their time building something of their own together, rather than spending their days apart. They see this as just the beginning and look forward to the exciting adventures life in this business will bring. And now, David Dornan.
I mean, one of the things that we combat in the business all the time, and this kind of goes back to the story, is sort of, the perception of what this kind of business is and then what it really is, I suppose, are the kind of the two things. And the beautiful thing about building the business right now is that, most people are kind of at a point where they think, who cares what the perception is? If it's legal and it can make me money, get out of the way. I mean, I don't know too many people that are like, because what I really want to say when people don't really know if this is something they want to pursue or not, or they're not really positive of that or whatever, I want to sit down and say, look, I mean, I don't care. I care, but it sounds mean. I don't care. Stay broke. No, that's not what I want to say, it's what I want to say, but that's not what I say. But what I want to say is ultimately it really isn't going to impact my income or your upline's income whether you build it or not, because we will. Those of us that are committed will find people that will build it. I promise you. But what I really want to ask the logical question is, right now, with this business opportunity, do you have anybody else in your life who has sat down with you recently and said they want to do everything humanly possible to help you make an extra $50,000 next year? I mean, do you have a lot of those people? I mean, that really is what I want to say. Are you fielding offers? Are there a lot of people stopping by your house saying, hey, I'd like you to have no inventory, have no overhead, and have me do a lot of the work in the beginning to help you make an extra $50,000 this year? If you got a lot of those offers, great. I don't think you do. I mean, I don't, but if you don't have a lot of those offers, then why not try this? The thing about this business is, ultimately when you come to the realization that the only reason people would say no to this business really is pride. I mean, it really is, because it's not illegal. It doesn't take any special talents or skills. It doesn't take any kind of special education. It doesn't take any kind of special personality. None of those things. So the only difference is, are you able to get over your pride or not? And I wasn't for a while. When I worked, I thought, this thing is kind of cool, and my parents have done it for a while, and their friends are, they're well off, and they make good money and everything, and that's great for them, and exciting for them and whatever. But I thought, I'm going to do something like, with a business card. I'm going to do real estate, because that's stable. So I'm going to, and it was at the time. And obviously there's people that make money in real estate even now, and I'm not suggesting that people don't make money in it. I just laugh now that I thought that real estate was the stable thing. If I would have guessed where my Forbes interview was going to come from, I wouldn't have guessed Amway. Jules always jokes. She said there was a lot of magazines that my friends and family might have thought I'd show up in. Forbes wasn't one of them, She sent out a text, and she thought, if you thought at 26... that Forbes wasn't the thought that first people maybe had if she said she was going to be in a magazine. And so we laugh about that because, we're a young couple, and, what we've done with the business in a short period of time is nothing even remotely compared to what these guys have done over a much longer period of time. I mean, the leaders here in the business have been around for we'll just say a few years. They've been around for a few years. We'll go with a few. That could be more than 2 and, less than 100. This should be so... I don't know what the word I'm searching for is, but I hope it makes you feel safe that the couples that are up here in the front row have made a gigantic living from this thing for decades. I mean, there's a lot of hyper companies like this that come and go, and people come up and I'm making $8,000 this month and I'm making $10,000 next. Talk to me in a year, dude. I mean, you make a little bit of money for a while, and if you're into that, great. If you want to get rich quick thing, great. I mean, go for it. There's a lot of other companies out there that will get you rich quick, right? But they come at the expense of friendships, and they come at the expense of integrity, and they come at the expense of a lot of other things that I wasn't willing to give up. And then I've watched people here, my folks, dear friends, and people that have been around the business for a long time, not have to sacrifice any of that stuff to make an incredible living from the business for decades. And so what you have here in the longevity of people that have been around the business for a little while, like my folks and the people up here, and then those of us that are, have been around for a couple years and, have done okay with it, in the last couple years, but that gives you a good, sort of a good compass to say, okay, if I make money here, it's going to last me a while. They don't have to be here today. I mean, it ceased being about the money for these guys long ago. They're here today because they like the business. They love the process. How many of you would hang out with your job if it wasn't about the money anymore? About 9 of you, and only because your boss is here. You're like, yep, I do it. But everybody says that. Everybody says that, right? Everybody's like, because what they mean is they don't really have an option. I used to say that too, like, well, yeah, I'd still do what I do because I love what I do until the money matched what I did. Then I was like, peace, like the second I wasn't even making as much money. I was making like half the money from the business I was for my job, and I was like, later. The reason people say they're not going to leave their job, and this is not true for everybody, so please, I'm not suggesting everybody here hates what they do. I just mean, it's funny, the reason people say that a lot, it starts to become more of an option. Then it's like, well, now it might actually be possible. Now it's okay to dream. It starts to become okay to dream again a little bit. Like, what if I was, not if I was a, millionaire, not if I was making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, but what if I was just making what I make now, but from the business and not have to show up where I show up? What would I do? That's a different kind of question. I'm not even asking you to dream big. Unless you make a really, really big income right now, but I'm not even asking you to dream big. I'm just saying dream of what it would be like if the business just replaced what you make now. It's just up to you to decide if it's something you want to do or not. Now, again, most people, when asked that question, how would you like to make everything you're making now but stay home? Well, everybody's like, are you kidding me? Yeah. If you're breathing, most people would be like, yeah, I'd like to make what I'm making now and stay home. And, but when asked what that might take, that's the difference. Right? But the nice thing is, everybody we've helped do that still keeps their job. They're still working full time. There's not anything, again, I hear people say all the time, like, oh, so-and-so wouldn't be interested because, he's just really busy or he just doesn't have time for that or whatever. And I'm like, who does? They've got a lot of this is my favorite. They've got a lot of irons in the fire right now, and I'm like, who doesn't? Come on. We all got kids and wives and, jobs and stuff that happen. No kidding. If this were a business that you had to be free from wives and kids and jobs and, all that stuff to build, then there'd be nobody here. If that were a factor, but I watch people skip over the right people all the time because they think, they wouldn't do it because they don't have time, or they wouldn't do it because they make too much money. The people who make too much money could always use more money. And the people who need it, and you will find this time and time again, the ones who need it won't build it, and the ones who don't need it will go crazy with the thing. And it's the most unbelievably weird thing you'll ever see, but it's just what happens. And I watch people that need it so desperately, and they make decision after decision after decision that doesn't help them get where they want to go. I was one of those people. I wanted to get out of my job. I didn't like what I did. I wanted to get free of it, and I didn't do it. I poked at it and came to the meetings and, and I listened to some CDs, and dear Lord, I'd already heard them all live, my parents. So I listened to the CDs again after the live version, and I did all those things, but I was just going through the motions. I was just kind of in it, and I never really had the passion for it. I wasn't really trying to drive it. I was just kind of in, and I was doing my real estate thing, and it was pride. It was only pride. And I should have had pride about the business in a good way, one would think. I didn't think it was a bad company. I just didn't think it was something that I was going to do because I had kind of gotten in my little real estate world where, that seemed like the important thing to do. And, the Amway thing was kind of cute, for my parents, and they had done it, and, they made a lot of money at it. But, I started kind of believing, well, yeah, they got in early, like the diamonds here. They got in on the ground floor, and they make me puke. A million other people got in on the ground floor with these guys. Where are they? If the ground floor had something to do with it, then they'd all be rich. But only these guys are. So there must be some sort of relationship to actual work in the business, not just getting in early. Amazing how that happens. But, I thought kind of, my folks' friends had made a lot of money from the business, and that was great for them, and, whatever. And I'm just saying, if there are people who don't, really move forward with the business, oftentimes that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks is pride. They just feel like they what would their friends think if they did this? Or what would their friends think? Would they think they need something because their job's not going well, whatever? First of all, in this economy, if anybody makes fun of you for doing something extra to make money, they need to be on medication. Right now, it's not like anybody's sitting around thinking, I can't believe he's working an extra job. It's like, no kidding. Everybody is. The good news is you caught the business at a time where it's like chic to have extra stuff to do. to have stuff on the side, right? Everybody's trying to make money right now. And if you've got something legitimate that's been around for 50 years, it's adding bonuses instead of taking them away, that's doing, all this stuff that the company's doing right now, I'd run with it. Nothing wrong with having a job, but for me, I feel like most of the people we talk to right now, it's like take control of your life. Because right now, guys, when you're showing the plan to people, no matter what people are saying out there, it's resonating with them. Cash is king right now. It used to not be. It used to be people were house rich and credit card rich and, whatever. Then all of a sudden the credit card companies are like, oh, you don't have a $10,000 limit, now you have $1,000. Right? And your house was worth hello California, right? Your house was worth $5 million. Now it's worth $20. It's like, and everybody borrowed against I'm laughing only because we own property in California. It wasn't. Here's the thing, guys. It was never really worth what they said it was worth. It's only worth what people are willing to pay, right? Just like in Vegas and Phoenix and Southern Cal and Northern Cal and all these places where you paid $1,500 a square foot for places and all that stuff and what. But it was worth what people were willing to pay for it. And now people aren't willing to pay that for it, so it's not worth that. But you never really had that money. It was never really in your pocket. We all thought it was, and that's why the business was hard to show people back a few years ago. But now, $500 a month for a lot of people are like, that would really be kind of a life changer right now. I mean, $500 extra bucks a month would mean the difference between a lot of people losing their house and not losing their house. I mean, we're not trying to, we like to under-promise and over-deliver. I'm not standing up here saying everybody's going to make millions of dollars from the business, because you're not. I mean, most of us wouldn't be willing to do what it would take to do that. But that's okay. Most people don't need that. Most people are like, if I made $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, or $10,000 a year from the business, or $6,000 a year from the business, that's a heck of a lot bigger raise than I ever got at my jobs. It's not like my income ever went from 30 to 40 in 1 year. Right? Or at least I didn't. I mean, maybe you did, but it would take me a long time to get there. Certainly not a 6-month period to make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month at work. Unless you're in some kind of, sales or something like that. So I'm just saying the beautiful thing about the business now is that you're catching it at a time when, people are worried about what their friends may think and all that stuff. But here's the thing, guys. They ain't thinking about it. They're not. I got a news flash for you. You know what they're thinking about? Them. And what they're going to do to make their house. They're not thinking about you. People are not thinking about you when you leave. You show them the plan, they think, oh, well, I don't want to do it. They walk out and you think, oh, God, they're talking about us. No, they're not. They're getting in the car and they're saying, what are we going to make for dinner? What's Bobby going to do with his braces? What are we going to do with, that's what they're thinking about. So don't be so petrified if you think people are going to be, thinking about what you're doing now or whatever, or that anybody's going to make fun of you for making extra money. Listen, guys, this is a serious opportunity that can make serious money for people that will pay attention to it. And if you're willing to pay attention to it for even a short time and really give this thing, a real shot, then it can really pay you like you've given it a real shot. But that takes a dream first. So what you got to decide first is what this thing is going to bring to you, what kind of value it's going to add to your life, how much money do you want to make from it, and once you do that, we can lay out a plan or a strategy for how to do that. Once you tell us what you want to make from the business, what we do is we then provide the information that it will take to be able to do that much with the business. But what we don't want to do is provide you with information to help you make $10,000 a month if all you wanted to make was a couple $100. And we don't want to provide you with information to pay you a couple $100 if the only thing that's going to save you right now is $10,000 a month. There are people in here, that have been around this for a while and want to move to the next level. I mean, there's all sorts of different people in here. And so when we make these talks, we sort of have to, appeal to the wider audience. But all I would say first and foremost is no matter what you want to do with this thing, the first thing you got to do is decide why you're doing it. And that's not for us to, talk about or have a dialogue about or whatever, but that's for you to write down and say, what is this for? If you want to quit your job and that's the reason you want to build the business, then don't make your job your excuse for not building it. Okay, I get that. I'm not suggesting that, but you would take off work for your sister's wedding. You would take off work for there's all sorts of things that people take off work for, but then when it comes to the business, they don't, right? Or they would take off work for, well, anyway, you guys know what I'm saying, especially with like 6 or 8 weeks notice. I get it, but they're, take off work. Okay, like what? Once, if you work on Saturday, which few of the people in here would, but if you do work on a Saturday, we're only talking about once every 2-3 months you're missing a Saturday. Trust me, I highly doubt they're going to fire you. I highly doubt it for missing one Saturday for 4 hours. But people think like that. They're like, well, I can't go. I mean, I got to work Saturday. I'm like, it's 3 months from now. Well, like I said earlier, what if we said there's a $50,000 check waiting for anybody who gets to the front desk of the Hilton? How many of you think they'd take off work? All of you would take off work, okay? Thank you, yeah. So, that's when you really put it down and boil down, that's what we're offering here. Pay attention to this thing for 4 to 6 months. We'll make you $50,000. But guess what? It won't be one check. It'll come in every year and every month. Month after month after month. You lose your job, Amway check still comes in. You quit your job, Amway check still comes in. Kids are sick, you're sick, you travel, you go wherever you go, Amway check still comes in. My work check did not. I tried, but they didn't do it, right? I'd be gone, I'd come back and say, you want to pay me? No, they're not going to pay you, but here they pay you. It's real money, and it really comes in if you make a real decision that this is something you want to really pursue. There's a lot of reallys, sorry. As long as you treat the business like it, like what it pays you, it'll continue to pay you that. I mean, I know you've heard this a lot on CDs, but if the business is paying you $9, it's hard to prioritize it. But the problem is, if you never prioritize it, it'll always pay you $9. People wonder why. Well, when this thing starts paying me, then I'll pay attention to it. Wrong thinking. You start paying attention to it, then it'll start paying you. This is a different kind of business than any job I've ever had or anything where you perform, you get paid. You perform, you get paid. You perform, you get paid. But you always get paid the same, right? You perform and you get paid and the same amount of work for money, right? And you guys have seen those graphs. And so in the beginning in this business, you do work, right? If you're full-time in the thing, like 8 hours a week maybe, that would full-time. But, you're there and the work is here, okay? And the pay is down here. But then there comes a time where those 2 points kind of intersect. And then when you get to the point where some of these diamonds are up here and even, kind of to a smaller degree where Jules and I are in the business, where the work is like way down here and the pay is like way up there. Any one of you in 2-3 years can make that. Any one of you. It's open to everybody. It is equal opportunity. You talk about lifestyle stuff that you get to do in the business, it's absolutely ridiculous. We went to Peter Island. I don't know if you guys know about the corporate island the company owns. And if you just make the level Jules and I will be at in the next few months and the level that these guys have gotten to, and been at for many years, if you just get to that level, they give you a free trip to Peter Island. Guys, these are the kind of vacations that it's the stuff you see on the E! channel, or the whatever you watch it and you're like, who gets to go on those? You! And guess what from? Amway! Right? I mean, that's the funny thing in this whole thing is it's people are all uppity about their jobs and they get to go on one vacation a year and they take their kids to Disney World. All that stuff is great. But if you build this thing, you get to live a life. And here's the good news. Nobody knows who I am. I walk up and down the road. Nobody gives a flying rip who I am or who my parents are. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows who any of these guys are. But they live like movie stars. And they've been doing it for decades, all quietly under the umbrella of Amway. But how do you start with that? One step at a time. It starts with doing something today to move your business forward. And doing something tomorrow to move your business forward. And a little bits at a time, right? I mean, we think about all the other things we do this with in our life. It's not like you go to the gym, work out once, and be like, God, why don't I look like a bodybuilder? Right? Here, people do meetings for a week, and they're like, I'm not rich yet. They told me. Who told you you'd be rich in a week? Show me the CD that says that. What we said is, if you're willing to put a little bit of work in over a consistent period of time, we'll make you all the money you ever dreamed of. But, which is unlike anywhere else I ever worked. I mean, the more I worked at my job, the more money I made, but the more hours I spent. And it was and as my lifestyle grew accustomed to those hours, right, then it's not like I could cut back on my hours because now my pay, right, and my house and my cars, and I know there's nobody like this in California, but my house and my cars and all that stuff had caught up with my income. And so if I were to cut back, I'd have to move. I mean, I didn't have many options. I had cornered myself with my income and put myself in a corner where everything I made I spent. And so it wasn't like I could ever cut back on the hours, right? Because I could, but we'd have to make a drastic change in lifestyle. Whereas here, you work hard for a couple of years and you pay attention. You're going to work hard for 40 anyway. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like it's an either-or situation, right? I mean, it's not either-or. You either work harder, right? I guess it is an either-or, but not really. I mean, you either work hard for 40 years or you work hard for 2. Those are your options. There's not like anything in between, like, oh, I just won't work hard after that. Well, then, for most people, that's not going to be an option to retire. Retirement in your 50s has gone the way of the, whatever, cuckoo bird or whatever. What the heck's that? Extinct bird? Dodo bird. There it is. Thanks. Maybe that rocket scientist got it. Okay. Yeah, thanks. He's on my Jeopardy team. Him and Dad would answer it. Yeah. Only my dad, just in case he might be wrong, he'd say, I think dodo bird. Yeah. But, the thing is, it's, again, when you're looking at this opportunity, a lot of people try to weigh it as if it's like one of many options, right? They try to weigh it like, okay, I could do Amway, or I could do, some other. There is nothing else that I know of that provides this. There isn't. If you tell me, there's a lot of things that provide money, right? There's a lot of things that provide money. There just are. You can go to real estate courses. You can do no money down real estate. But the combination of, there's stuff that we get to do in this business where you get incredible friends. You get an incredible network of people. You get incredible money. Right? And you get to, but then you get freedom. You get time. I spend time with my wife. I spend time with our daughter. We bought that. We bought the time and freedom with our daughter so that I never have to tell her I have to miss something. But here's the thing. Let me go the other way and say this is, it's also a business and everything else. So, for me, we had to make some decisions to be able to do that. And we've made them, and now, we get the rest of our lives to do that. And so what we've been able to do in a short time, now we have another baby on the way, like Alex said earlier, which we're very excited about. But the ability to spend time, thank you, the ability to spend time, with those kids as they're growing up is something that we, really, really cherish. But the ability to get to do that while making a lot of money is also fun. Because like my dad says, and like you've heard many times before, money doesn't buy happiness, but neither does poverty. Right? Poverty doesn't buy happiness either. Some people are self-righteous about not having money. I'm like, why? Jules and I, the one thing we never have to fight about, money. The number one reason for divorce? Money. Right? So build a business, you've already lowered your chances about 80% of getting a divorce. That's one less stress on your life. It's not like just because you build a big business, you're not going to have any stresses. It's just when you build a big business, the stresses are easier to handle. Because when our daughter gets sick and we have to spend a week in the hospital with her, we're okay. I'm not going to get fired. I don't have to ask time off for work. Not great circumstances. We're not free of trouble. We're just able to deal with the trouble a lot easier than we would have had we been hemmed in by a career or a job. And why not live a consequence-free life when you have to make decisions like that for your family? I've never been able to see a total package like this. And again, if you know you're going to work hard for the next 20, 30, 40 years at your job, then why not take to heart some of the things I'm going to teach later about what you actually do, right? Why not take to heart some of those things coming out of here and say, okay, you know what? If Dave says if I do these few things that I'm going to make money at this thing, and it's not Dave says in Network 21, this is nothing new, but if Network 21 says these are the things that I can do to make money in the business, then why not do it? Like, really do it. Go out and do it and prospect people and do some of the things we're going to talk about and whatever. But this is not, I just want to let you know that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is something that you're going to be in for a long time. So if your first couple of home meetings don't go well, welcome to the club. Everybody's first 2 home meetings don't go well. You ever heard of CDE? I showed 43 people the plan. They all said no. I showed my best friend. He said no. My dad thinks I'm an idiot. That is normal. If you had a good home meeting, you should be shocked. You're like, wow, really? You're like, then you think the problem with having a good home meeting is then you think all the other ones will be good. Then you show up and you're like, wow, 90% of what we do stinks. It does. At 90%, we give out products, we do home meetings, 90% of the stuff we do just does not seem to go well at all. At all. But yet they're paying us this big old check at the end of the year. Why? Because the 10% makes you rich. Right? The 90%, most of it stinks. You follow any of these diamonds around, it's like no show. This guy like, I don't think that'll work. And I'm like, doesn't work? What do you mean doesn't work? But we deal with the same things. Here's the thing, guys. Nothing changes. We dealt with it when we were 3%ers, and we deal with it now as diamonds. You deal with it regardless. You just deal with it a lot easier when you got a lot of money. So get to the point where you're making money, and it'll make all the junk go easier. The only problem is when the junk that happens meets somebody not making any money. which is most people. So what you get paid well for is getting over it. Yeah, but it's not like Jules and I don't look back on the first couple of years or the last few years building the business and we're like, wow, I can't believe we did all that. That was really tough. Are you kidding me? We would have worked hard for 40 years doing whatever we were doing anyway. It's not like there was an option. It's not like there's a C. There was A, work hard for 40 years. B, work hard at our jobs and do this for a couple of years. There's no C. And I think everybody's still struggling with the fact, acting like they think there's another option out there, and I just don't know of one. Not that performs as consistently as this has for 50 years, and not backed by the caliber of companies that we're backed by, like Nutrilite and Artistry and all the the excess brands and the Perfect Water and the Ribbon and all. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there like this that claim all kinds of smoke and mirror stuff with their funky juice or diet cookies or gas service, phone cards and whatever. But the great thing about Amway is we change with the times. I mean, the Amway used to sell payphones, right? Well, you don't want to be in the payphone business right now, do you? Now, that seemed like a great idea, right? 15, 20 years ago, people thought, yeah, and people started whole multi-levels around payphones. Guess where those are now? Right? And, I mean, there's whole multi-levels around cell phone service, and there's guys, what Amway does, they just take, so they got a funky juice product out there that's $40, so Amway makes one with the acai berry for $2 called Simply Nutrilite Juice. Go pick it up and sell it to people for $2 and, eat, drink, and be happy, right? And maybe you'll cure something. What do you want to hitch your wagons to? Right? We're debt-free. 50-year-old company. I'm trying to impart that on you as a little bit of knowledge to say, as long as you're timid and offering to pay for people and trying to get people in by just buy stuff, you don't have to do it. I mean, God forbid you'd want to do it. I know it's Amway, whatever. I mean, the more you apologize like that, who would want to follow that? Nobody's going to follow that. You got to know this is the best thing out there, and when you're talking to people, feel like this is the best thing out there. If you don't get it, you just don't get it. I mean, there's something about this you're not understanding because there's no way to lose. And once you know there's no way to lose, then you talk to anybody. You got to just not care because really, I know that's easier said than done, but I'm just telling you, if that's something you're struggling with, then, do you want to, I mean, the ultimate test of that, like we heard at the weekend, is do you want to live like they live? Those ones that are readily giving you their opinion, do you want their life? And so I just want to impart a little bit of posture to you and say, stop begging people and stop trying to get people in for your little business and start going after quality prospects, real people that really want to make this thing work. It is a great business. I mean, if you think being an emerald or a diamond or even a platinum would be cool, it's probably 50 times cooler than even what you think. I mean, there's so many things that come as a result of that, but you got to be willing to do the work and lay the groundwork first, and that's the hard part because you're not getting paid for it right now. You don't work a couple hours, get paid. You work a few months and then get paid. Let's just say, okay, we're in here to learn. We all have other jobs and other careers and other things we do, but if you will put this and prioritize it at a higher level, a little bit higher level than what it is right now, I would venture to say if we went across the boards, myself included, we asked everybody, have you done all you can to move your business forward? I don't think anybody would answer yes. I mean, I wouldn't. So let's do that for a month and see what really happens. Not talk to a person when it's convenient or give out a product when it's convenient or talk to people you're not afraid to talk to or think of the same 6 people you've been trying to get in front of for a decade or, whatever. I mean, I'm saying really do all you can for the next month. And then, and let's just see. And then another month later, let's see. And then, all of a sudden you wake up 4 months from now, your business looks completely transformed from what it looks like right now. If you're brand new, if you've been around the business a while, none of that matters. All that matters is a real concerted effort for an actual period of time that could, turn into something. Not a week, not 2 weeks, not today, I called 4 people. Everybody said no. It's like, call 4 more. Sorry. But, really, that's what it always amazes me when people sit down and they're like, I gave out 3 drop-in shops and nobody bought anything. What should I do? Now, the first 3 you may give out, you may sell 3. But you just can't count on that. You just got to keep going through the motion. So you put in 10 people and none of them are a superstar. Put in the 11th. He might be. It's not, listen to it. Go listen to a diamond story sometime. Any of these diamond stories, anybody's diamond story, and listen to all the intricate little sort of things, the thin threads that happen between growing the business and not growing the business, it will amaze you. Thin threads. Real